Brother, wake up.
Fellow humans, we ask, can we together deliver peace and healing to heart and mind?
Ulysses reheard the words being replayed.
We have audio now? Okay. All right.
You cough.
All right, here we go. Our opener was to run between 7 and 7:01. It's now 7:02 according to the unofficial clock on my computer. And I guess that's one thing we don't have is an official clock. But we apparently do have a clock now. Mm-hmm. Is that it? We have a clock. Oh, wait.
All the way.
Yeah, you can tell by the way I'm saying we have a clock that tells time.
A working clock. A working
right?
clock. Yeah.
Extra cool. Extra cool.
Oh, and not only that, but
high quality.
Look over here to your side there, Chuck.
Wait, something's not right this week.
Yeah,
we're
we
like
got to work
way
on the
low.
Yeah, we got to adjust the.
We're gonna have to
video
adjust the
down.
camera a little bit. Oh wait,
Yeah.
look at that. And between us, we have a little like. Wait, what'd you do? Okay, do you see that thing there?
Yeah.
That there apparently. Can they see that?
They can see that.
Okay, so apparently that there is the countdown to the next segment.
Yes.
So what did you move the clock for?
I didn't move the clock.
You moved the clock.
I was trying to move us up.
Okay, right. As if you couldn't tell that the clock was an overlay that we were playing with. Well, welcome to Udicci.TV's Thursday Night Social, the incredible content that's going to change the world. Thank you for tuning in like you do each and every week. That is my wife and children and occasionally some other I think
friends.
Stacy has tuned in once or twice. And
Nikki on occasion.
yeah, like, we're talking millions.
Yeah.
Just check the views out.
Wait,
I
wait
one
till the
time,
day that somebody
you know,
actually
last week,
cares.
Last week, one of them had 25 views.
Whoa,
Wow.
25 views.
25. I think
That
that's
means somebody's going to Udicci.TV.
No, I think it's because I accidentally posted it to my story instead of my page, and it somehow does a little bit more. So I'm gonna go post that right now. So you go ahead and introduce Udicci.TV and what we're doing.
All right. Well, okay. So here we are tonight on Udicci.TV for who knows what episode. So tonight's theme is In Rhythm. In Rhythm. Video Ninja in Rhythm on Udicci. The link is available probably somewhere, but we should make that available somewhere.
I don't know why this doesn't.
If you know how to get a hold of us, want to be a part of the conversation, by all means, reach out and let us know that you want to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, no, that's a fun one. That's a fun one.
We're actually going to be talking tonight a little bit about BSV, I think, right?
So, yeah, we're going to be talking about these things. And, okay, if we're being really honest right now, the whole theme is about being in rhythm, and it's really about trying to find that rhythm to make sure you're staying in it as you're striving towards your goals. And we sort of recognize that we're in the bit of a marathon, so frankly, like, we shouldn't be so rushed coming on tonight. So we're a little bit out of rhythm, so we're going to take a minute to get in rhythm. You ready?
3, 2, 1. We're gonna. Let's see. We're gonna
have to talk to Victorious Rebel tonight about what was it called? Breathanizing. There's this whole idea that she thinks is possibly real, and I ended up sharing an article about it, that these people have. Oh, I think it was better down there. That's distracting. Okay. Yeah, right? Because it's like, why do you have that? Yeah, I think it's like more operational is really quite good.
Yeah,
I think that was kind
you
of
kept
fun.
going behind your. It kept going behind your hand.
Well, we could put it
Your
up
hand
here.
kept going behind it, but you tend to talk more with your hands. I don't tend to.
Yeah, I don't
if
think. Yeah, but I mean,
so-
it's like it's a second or two,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Hey,
whatever.
hey, it's a second or two.
Whatever.
That
I want
right
to be
there.
able to
Wait,
see it, man.
there.
It's distracting to me.
Oh, okay,
Well,
fair
look at
enough.
that.
So yeah, so we're still
You
gonna
point-
bring the camera down for some reason. We'll
Yeah,
do that at the
we'll do
break.
that at the break. Yep.
Which the break, just so we're really, really clear,
Is it
is
2 minutes and 45
is
7
it 7:08?
7:08.
7:08. But we'll go by this.
Yeah,
We'll go
let's
by
go
this.
by that, yeah.
We'll go by that because we've set this up. Why we're doing all of this tonight is we've been trying to be more disciplined. You know, we talk about things and just don't always get them done, like a format. We've had the format a few different times. We've talked about trying to keep the format. We'll probably forget the format next week. But for tonight, because it's about being in rhythm, we're going to try to keep the format. And by the end of the show, we're going to ask ourselves, how'd that rhythm feel?
Right, and I think we were going through this when we were at the old studio. We went through this a couple times. What works well? You know, I think we were at like 10 minutes and 2 minutes or something like that at one point. And
I think one of the things we did there, didn't we also say something like we had to be ready 15 minutes before on?
well, yeah, that was a lot. But actually, we started set up like an hour before.
Well, I'm just saying,
So-
generally speaking, though, didn't we say like we want to
We
get to
tried
the
to
point?
be,
yeah, so
yeah.
we should do something like that. We should have something like the green room time, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're all set to go. We can settle in. We can do our breathing hum techniques. All right,
If you haven't figured it out, it got a little frazzled before we started tonight. We were running a couple minutes late. We were trying to be on time. Chuck's in there typing away. And of course, now I have to go in and set up Udicci TV so that it actually shows up there correctly.
Oh, it's not there?
Not quite yet, but it will be because I had to wait for you to set that up. I had to go in and set the other stuff up. There's 2 steps on that.
Okay,
So-
so the glow of my shirt's really important simply because that means I'm getting the light from the computer. So that's
yeah.
cool. I've got a glowing shirt. We're going to have to put probably for now, when we come back, we'll put the Nefarian back up until we figure out what we want from that. There's a few other things we're going to be watching after the fact, but we've got 1 minute to kind of close this out. So if you haven't figured it out yet, we're just 2 guys that get together on Thursday night and talk about how to kind of do things together. Not just Tim and I, but, sort of change the world together. And we mean that with the utmost sincerity. And that's why we're spending and investing heavily into creating a platform for blockchain that will allow people to sort of take control of their online lives and begin to kind of profit off of their knowledge, their skills, and that stuff that everybody else right now is kind of just siphoning away, like Facebook. We're going to talk about gumballs, but not the way you're thinking gumballs. We're going to talk about migration and how what we're allowing right now is extraordinarily harmful. If we actually listen to wisdom and we make healthy decisions, we can make an impact around the globe. Not just here at home, but around the globe. But here's the thing we have to talk about. If you cannot take care of your family at home, how do you think you can take care of the rest of the world? We're going to be back in 2 minutes. And
we're starting soon.
we're starting soon. We're starting soon. We'll be back soon. We'll change our text.
We'll be back
We'll
soon.
work on our checks. So here
Yeah, we're
Okay,
back.
we're
Now
back.
we're back.
All right, so obviously that opener didn't quite work. See, like I'm on my thing that we should be somewhere around 7:09, and we're already at 7:13. So I'm like, we just lost 4 minutes somewhere. We started a minute late.
We had to set up Udicci.TV to get
Right,
those
but that-
things, and
anyways,
that takes a minute.
So it doesn't really matter.
So-
So we're a few minutes late. We're gonna kind of steal that from here and from there, and we'll get back on
Right,
track.
which we were supposed to play
So,
the intro video, right?
This timer is now technically supposed to be 16 minutes, right? So this thing that we're in right now
okay.
is a 16-minute segment.
Let me see if I can change that while you're talking.
Okay.
So go ahead.
And I guess at this point we could just put it at a 13-minute segment, and we'll kind of catch up a little bit as there. And there we go. There we go. 13. 13. Look at that. Wow. Wow.
Production.
Wow.
That's live production.
I mean, that's
for you.
live production.
Hey,
That's like, can you believe that's possible? Wow.
with the Nefarian right
quality.
there, trying
Top.
to mess with us.
Top.
Yes.
Like superior quality. Like Hollywood's got nothing on us.
Man, I think we've got this production thing down to a science. We should open a studio.
We should. All right. So here's what we have. All right. So our first segment for tonight is what we call, or what's really our opening segment, right? That first little thing we did was our introduction, and we're playing through that. The next section here is what I call World Chatter. And we've talked about this before, where we're just going to kind of look at what's going on in the world, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. After World Chatter, we have a sponsor break, which runs for 2 minutes. And, we're just kind of going through the format. Kind of, you guys keep us on path. You'll get what we're doing as we kind of fumble through it all. But the 2-minute sponsor break at 7:20, which obviously I have incorrect because I have World Chatter running to 7:25. So my time is way off at this point in time. So we're going to put this at 7:25 and move that to 7:27, and we'll be good at that. Then we're going to have something called healthy decisions. And we're going to talk about what's involved with, making a healthy decision. If we're going to talk about, like, changing the world, we want to make sure that we're making healthy decisions together. And we're going to base that around that 4-quadrant thing of urgent and important, and how you decide what it is that you're going to do moving forward. We have another break because we like to take a lot of breaks, and we're going to continue the discussion about like healthy decision in order, and by looking at aligning your skills and your talents together. And we're going to finish the night on Unencrypted by talking about getting people on board, hitting the goal. This is the goal that we had, was for November 1st, and I think that we're pretty much right there to begin bringing people on board as testers. And so that's kind of what the rest of the night is. We probably should have introduced all of that in the introduction. That would have made a lot more sense. So now at this point, we're going to talk gumballs and satoshis. And what do we mean by that? Gumballs. First off, there's some crap going on in our world. I hope I'm not giving anybody some like revelation you've not seen, but there's some real, we've got some real major immigration problems, and it's not that we shouldn't care for our neighbor, and I need everybody to hear this. We should care for our neighbor. Jesus taught, through the Bible, we learn in Scripture, like the enemy carries the Samaritan to the nearby doctor and says, here is what I have, care for this person, and when I return, I will give you anything more that this person required. So it's like, take everything I have, I'll bring you more, care for this person who the world says I am to be their enemy. So we're not in saying that we should not care for people. Hear us clearly. Our goal is to care for as many as properly, as well as we can. And there's some principles that go on to kind of ensuring that that is done. And I have to say that, if you don't have your own house in order, it's pretty difficult to say that you can care for the house of another. Right? So if you can't get your own house in order, and what do we mean by that? Well, when you're so divided inside of your own house that you don't even have people having reasonable conversations, like maybe we shouldn't invite the neighbors in until we figure out this disagreement that's actually causing us, who claim to be saying the same thing, care for your neighbor, to be highly divided. If we don't solve those kind of things and we just invite more people in, all we're really doing is trying to create power grabs, right? Let's be honest. But there's some other issues about the immigration that's going on. Like, how are people who are from Haiti and the Sudan walking through Central America, through Mexico to come to the United States? Like, okay, fair enough, somebody's boating them, somebody's flying them there. Okay, that's a lot of people who are being brought to march to the United States. Like, okay, if that's necessary, okay, but we could do that better too, couldn't we? Like, why is it that you actually have to be boated or flown from Haiti over the ocean, off the island to Central America so that you can walk? Right? If we're going to welcome you, why don't we just work on bringing you over? We've got cruise ships. I don't mean that literally, but we've got like ships in the military. We've got hospital ships. So there's some real problems, and one of the real problems is that we're then going to pay $450,000 to people who came into our house illegally. Right? I'm not saying they shouldn't be welcome into your house, but I'm saying if you didn't invite them in your house and they kicked down your door, and then you're going to pay them $450,000 while you've been trying to figure out how to make the most out of the last few beans in your cabinets. Like, this is an issue. When our government is telling us that we must go without, and then they're giving the people who are coming across illegally $450,000, that's a problem. And here's the reason it's a problem. And we're going to watch something now called Gumballs. And we're going to kind of go through this, and we want you to hear not only why it's a problem that we're paying people who are breaking the law, but also the way that we're trying to solve this problem. Because if we truly want to care for our neighbor, we better care for our neighbor.
Yeah, so real quick, I tried to add it to prep it, and it started playing, as you might have heard.
There you go. So, did you see that?
Yeah,
like, we
so
were...
now I got to...
Stop, ready, go again.
Yep.
Top quality.
Top
conversation.
Man, listen. But it's all for...
We've actually talked... We've had this before. This gumball thing is pretty important. Probably just going to need to maybe... Should just be its own screen at this point, and people can watch it and we can pause it.
Okay. All right, well, hold on a minute then. Let me...
there we go.
Let me just do this real fast. Oh, now I got to find the... Add existing.
There you go.
There we go. Look at that. You can even see the search. All right, let's see if we can get the play going.
Yeah, it looks like there we go. Is it?
No.
Brother,
No,
wake up.
Able to hit the play button.
I think. Let's see
It
here.
looks like there's sound going out.
Yeah, there's some sort of sound.
There is sound going out, but not sound on our side.
Yeah, you want to see if we can listen to it?
Brother, wake up.
Fellow humans, we ask, can we together deliver peace and healing to heart and mind?
Ulysses reheard the words being replayed.
Yeah, I don't know how that's... Oh, that's why right there. Ah, the opener got unhidden. That's why. Our apologies. Technical difficulties. Let's see if it works now. It does not want to seem to work.
Okay, and this is like a key part of what we're doing. So we would have a break coming up. We're just going to skip that break. And that's okay, because we'll kind of get back on track here. So
let me do it this way. Instead of doing this, window capture. All right, let's try it again.
There we go. There we go.
Some people say that mass immigration into the United States can help reduce world poverty. Is that true? Well, no, it's not. And let me show you why. This gumball represents the 1 million legal immigrants that the United States has taken every year on average since 1990. Now, who in the world deserves our humanitarian compassion? The World Bank has one measure of the desperately poor of the world. They make less than $2 a day. And how many people make less than $2 a day in the world? Well, let's start with Africa. In Africa alone, there are 650 million people who make less than $2 a day. 650 million. And in India, another 890 million people, desperately poor. China adds another 480 million people, making less than $2 a day. And unfortunately, the rest of Asia has a heartbreaking 810 million people who the World Bank says make less than $2 a day. And finally, there's 105 million of Latin America's population that are desperately poor. All told, the World Bank says there are 3 billion people in the world. 3 billion people who are desperately poor, making less than $2 a day. That's 3,000 gumballs. And every year, we take 1 million and suggest that we've somehow made a humanitarian difference. Of course, we don't pull our immigrants from these desperately poor populations, do we? These people are too poor, too sick, too disconnected to make it here as immigrants. We tend to pull our immigrants out of the better off poor of the world. And Mexico tends to define the type of immigrant that we bring here because the plurality of people come from Mexico. And Mexico is poor. How many people in the world live in countries that have average incomes lower than that of Mexico? And the World Bank tells us that that number is these 3 billion plus another 2.6 billion people. 5.6 billion people in the world who live in countries with average incomes below that of Mexico. That's 5,600 gumballs. And so what is it that the elites are telling us? They're telling us that when we take this 1 million immigrants, that we somehow or another are tackling world poverty. And we have to do it regardless of the effect on our unemployed, the working poor, the most vulnerable members of our society, regardless of the effect on our natural resources. Even if we went by the most radical proposals in Washington, which are to actually...
Because I think that, like, it's important that we talk, just kind of like give the perspective of what's going on here. Like I said, we were going to kind of target being done with 7:30. We're going to run this a little bit longer because I think this is important. That you can continue watching this on your own. Just look up immigration, world policy, world poverty, and gumballs, and you'll find this. And what you'll see as you go through this is that this is a losing proposition all day long. Not only if we, he later goes on to talk about if you take 2 million a year or 3 million a year, but the actual population growth in these other countries just far exceeds it. And that he's beginning to set up the other point that he makes is that the people who come here are sort of the most healthy from those other places, the most mentally available, like the ones who can come here and work and find jobs and maybe even participate in the...
Smart enough to learn the language.
Right.
And yeah.
Right. So
absolutely.
we're taking the strongest. And if we think about the people right now that are walking across...
busing them?
They're walking across Central America and Mexico. Those are healthy people.
Right.
Right? Now, they may not be healthy by all the standards of America, like being obese and diabetic like that. Not that kind of healthy. Like healthy enough to actually sustain long journeys, which would seemingly be very challenging, leaving island nations and continents and coming across the ocean to land at a place to then walk across, thousands of miles. And we do. We know that a lot of that's coordinated and has buses, right? I mean, we see the QR codes. We get that that's going on. But what we have to see is that, yes, there's a narrative at play, but there's also a dishonesty happening through this. We can't just simply think that we can help our neighbor by taking the best that they have to offer and taking them from them And you can't think that we can take the best that we have to offer and punish them and then give it to the people who just showed up on the doorstep, right? Like, that's a problem. So there's some real issues in the way that this immigration thing is happening. And we know that some of the weirdness going on in the world is beyond the population. But what we're really talking about here, right, is creating more fair economies. When it comes right down to it, that's what the discussion is really about. And some of that discussion has to begin with the idea that currency itself has been used to manipulate people for generations, and the people who control the monetary policies and the currencies of the world are also then the ones who are creating this situation. So it's like it's monetary policy, it's economics that's driving the division of families. That's causing the best and the most healthy to leave places where they're most needed to come to a place that itself is already broken. Right? And we have an economic system that's highly broken, and the only thing we're trying to do is continue to create more and more debt because it's a Keynesian debt-based economy. We can kind of get into that. But really what we're trying to do is create new, healthier economies. And that's one of the things that blockchain is all about. And in the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about Satoshis and how they're a commodity. And hopefully people can begin to understand that. And that's sort of our goal with what we do on Thursday night, is we talk literally the solutions. We look at the problems and we talk about the solutions. And we don't just leave it out there. We actually take steps toward those solutions. So we're going to talk about blockchain tonight, and we're going to be going through the technology that we're building. And in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll talk a little bit more about the people that we're working with and maybe start fixing some of the supply chain issues and directing those. But the idea is that it's got to be more than talk. Like, we actually have to get out there and help our neighbor and do it together. But stop denying what the real problem is. It's not the people. It's not the people coming across and walking through. They're not the problems. It's the policies. And it's the policies that you support, and it's the policies that I support that are allowing these dishonest things to happen to what we should just generally say are good people, right? I mean, I know we can argue that conversation, that little thing all day long, but we need to kind of get back that and start making some healthy decisions. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about what it means to actually make a healthy decision. And we'll continue the conversation about how, what it is that we are doing to hopefully be the change that we need to see in the world here. So we'll go ahead and see where we're at now. It's 7:31. Yeah, we'll take a break, and we'll come back. So we are back at 7:35.
And we got an 8-minute timer.
We have an 8-minute timer.
Good.
And the goal, which means that'll bring us to around 7:43 as we go with this, and then the goals come back and talk about like the identity. And this is where we're going to kind of get into our the goals that we've set that we're sharing with people publicly. With the we're beginning to look for our alpha users. So today we were looking at making that healthy decisions, those good healthy decisions, and a lot of people have probably heard of this before. This is I think it's called the Eisenhower. What's the name of it? Eisenhower box.
Yeah,
I guess is. I'm sure it's got many names, right? But it's this Eisenhower process that seeks to help people understand how to make quality use of their skills, of their time, of their efforts. And, if you use this organizationally, you can kind of align people. And alignment's an important piece we can get into. But we'll save that for another piece. But let's just kind of assume for a moment that you've properly defined your roles in your organization, or at least you know who you are, and you want to kind of make that best use of your own life. This idea here, if you've ever seen this, it basically looks at it and says, how do you better focus on the priorities to create something that you feel is worthy together? So you want to kind of talk through this?
Sure. Boy, it's too bad we didn't have a... we should use our laser pointers.
That would be kind of funny.
That'd be fun. Actually, we'll have to try this sometime. So the quadrant actually is broken up into 4 things, and basically what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to look at what you're analyzing and say, is it important or is it not important? And then how urgent is it? Is it urgent or not urgent? And then based on that, there's certain actions, and I've seen this one, but I've also seen probably about
1,000 others.
Yeah, 10, 15 others.
Yeah, there's just tons of these out there. They're all the same kind of thing.
Yeah, more or less it's the same concept though, and essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to put priorities into what you're doing and be able to prioritize your life. And I go back to day planners, day runners, and eagle planners. Yep. They taught time management, time skill management, being able to organize your tasks based on prioritizing them. And like Eagle had a ranking system that was A, B, and C, and D, where essentially you would kind of place it inside of each one of these types of a box, and then each one of those inside of there, you'd prioritize them 1 through whatever based on the number of tasks. And then, the concept back then was you had to carry it forward in the calendar week after week.
Yeah, that was kind of, and that was a good discipline, right?
Absolutely, because
it's like,
you wanted to get them off.
And you started figuring out, like, well, I can write 50 tasks for myself, but if I can only get 1 task a day done, then I should learn to write 5 tasks. And I worked with a wonderful gentleman, Dave, and one of the things he used to talk about, like, you want to learn to manage your day, he says, exactly that. It's like, if you can get 1 thing done in a day, assign yourself 1 thing.
Yep.
Get that one thing done. Well, right. And don't overwhelm yourself.
Right.
So one of the things we were talking about is designing our own Eisenhower box, right? We'll call it the Udicci decision box. And, our version of it, I think that, generally speaking, we're not trying to change this so radically. I think that not important and important and urgent and not urgent sort of works well. Yeah. It kind of makes a nice demarcation point.
Yeah, we saw one like inside the do, decide, delegate, and delete. There's a lot of correlation to our platform inside of there. So
we were talking about tonight, like, because we'll begin designing this for ourselves, and maybe we'll use this internally, and as we start to grow these distributed autonomous organizations, these DAOs, this is how we can sort of together mold our decision process, and then each person, of course, is responsible for their own action, and we're all there to support one another, to bring out the best, to share our knowledge, to share our skills, to share our talents, to do what we can do to lift one another up. And if we can have some in common decision making where we're properly able to even set the the problems and look at it and bring a solution. But earlier when we were looking at this, we said we may not use the same wording, but you know, if
Right.
we start looking at this as this one tonight, I look at that and I'm like, I really like do, and I
Yeah,
think
well,
we could
do
change
fits.
say to like decide to say. Like we could have some fun with that because it is sort of like planning, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you say the decide part that we're seeing up here, like exercise. Well, that's interesting. Exercise wouldn't really be saying so.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is showing right.
There's a lot of crossover in the different aspects of it.
I don't think
and
there's
think
a lot
it's
of
gonna
crossover.
be-
I think it's well demarked just by having you basically
I-
have two properties, right, of each box.
No, I meant that there's going to be crossover of capabilities from our platform underneath each of the categories.
Yeah, I'm just looking
Yeah.
for it, not worrying about platform at this point as much as like what words would we want to put in our four
Well,
quadrants.
that's where I'm trying to
Yeah, okay.
connect to. So, because like in my mind, if I were to look down to the lower right, I delete. I don't know what really would fall into.
So fair enough. Like I might
Yeah.
just put like let's sit, right? For later for some reason, right? Because
Table it.
I'm with you. Like
Table
yeah,
it, 'cause
it's
it-
like table it.
Yeah.
Now there is a certain thing like so at what see I think the general question that comes to the bottom right corner is at what point in your life should you not be working on something that is important?
Well,
right?
yes, and there are not urgent, not important. That's the time when you're relaxed.
Now, what we can begin to do.
And so, if you start to cross over into personal
No,
versus
I
professional,
disagree. I think we should be focused on intentional personal care, right? So when
Of
if
course.
relaxation is built into our life, like that's important. It's not urgent necessarily.
Right.
It might be urgent for some people, but it is
Okay,
important.
so maybe it's a hobby.
Huh? Okay. So where I was going to go, like the not important thing on the bottom, like, so, okay, fair enough. Like, not important and not urgent. It's kind of, ponderances.
Yeah.
Like
It's
stuff that
just-
you just kind of want to check out and enjoy for where you're, like, disconnected or something.
I like to go out into, for as an example, one of the YouTubers I watch goes out in the middle of a pasture and just sits and listens. And so
to me, though, I would say that that's important and not urgent to that person.
sure.
Now,
yes.
but now let's take a step because I think this is kind of where it's fun. Is if we notice that if something's not important but urgent,
Right.
it says to delegate. So importance has a little bit of a different thought because the idea of sitting out in the,
Right.
we may not normally, but then there's something that says delegate. So like what is important? I guess that's ultimately saying like what is
that's
important.
the question. And I think everybody can self-define it. I think
Yeah.
that's the point that I'm trying to make
Yeah.
inside of all this.
Yeah.
So
But I think we have to come up with our
Better
sort
wording.
of like our version there, and absolutely each person connects with their own, and they can create their own decision
and you may have multiple.
decision box or something like that.
You may have multiple.
I don't think that that's healthy,
You know,
and no, because that's
professional and
double-minded.
personal?
That's double-minded. Why would you separate what you believe is a healthy decision-making process? Right?
Well, no,
You're a whole. You're a whole being. Like, why would I want to have two sets of mind, like within?
But I'm not saying you would have two sets of mind in it. I'm just saying you might have.
You may
like
have categories within this.
You may have categories within this. Okay, you might be able to do categories within this, but I was thinking you might want to have one that is more focused on your work, so that way when you go.
No,
into
yeah,
a work
I agree. Yeah, we focus. That's what I think by
yeah.
categories.
Yeah.
I think though that when it comes to the processing, your mind processing, like how you are going to process a healthy life.
Sure.
You can't give yourself all these different, well, if I want to do it this way, well, if I want to do it that way. Like, you can't really just change your
Agreed.
decision making for the situation. And that's really what I think we're up against in the culture. It's just a whole bunch of situational ethics,
Right.
situational morality. But
But
it's
I
like
think
it's like we want to get away from principle to give ourselves the out when we want the out. And
Sure.
it's like, that's a lot less
and
healthy.
and you're right. It's a lot less healthy. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to promote a healthy balance and a healthy
Yeah.
approach. But the other thing too is not everybody's minds work the same way either.
No, and
So
exactly right. They
it
can
might
create
be
their
able
whole.
to-
They can
Yes.
create their own decision process.
Yes.
I'm just saying personally, I think that a hugely strong mega argument can be made that you have a process in your mind that your neuroscience that everything helps to make you a whole being.
Sure.
Right? I think that that's important, and we need to really be cautious as to where we allow these sort of breaks in our.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I also understand that people's minds don't always work the same.
No, I think that might be and that's kind of a fun thing. Like as opposed to design or mind mapping, maybe we can have fun and call it like mind boxing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe that's more about what we're trying to do here is something like that. But so anyways, that's something to think about when it comes to how do you want to make a decision in life. Make your look. You don't have to follow this, right? There are many ways that people do make decisions. I would say that not every one of them works for you, but at some point in time, if all you're ever doing is trying out the next way of making a decision, you're probably not really trying to make a decision. Right. It's like there's got to be 50 different versions of the Eisenhower process.
The fact of the matter is that it's still up to us to make the choice. And
to act on it.
Yes,
right,
to go
exactly.
with that choice.
And I think that's the end goal there is really keeping those priorities and those principles out in front of us, right? If our work is to help people, and bring a more fair economy to the world, then maybe we need to start giving ourselves a little bit less latitude in how often we're doing our life, right? I mean, maybe there is just some confinement we have to do to ourselves, right, or for ourselves. Jeremy, you know what? I think it was Jake or maybe it was Victoria who said it that one time. Is we said no, it was Wizard. He's like, we simply have too many choices.
Wow, we definitely.
He's like, we have too many choices, and we think we have the right to all of them.
This is true.
Right.
Privilege.
Yeah. And fair enough. Like, you can call that privilege if you want. To me, I call that mental illness, and I raise my hand to it. All right. Well, we will come back here. I think we have a break that is coming up. Yes, indeed. It is coming up immediately.
We are behind schedule.
We are a little bit behind schedule. And
we have been at time for break for quite a while.
And when we come back, we will be talking about getting the first few people on the platform. And those of you who don't know what the platform is, there's many other videos before this. Stay tuned. You'll learn a lot more about it. But yeah, when we come back, we're going to be talking about getting on and establishing your identity in preparation for staking your claim on the BSV blockchain. And we got 8 minutes on the timer.
8 minutes on time.
8 minutes. All right, so we're back, and
Pardon me.
so as part of our sort of wrap up, and this is kind of where we're trying to be accountable to the production that we're doing, the development that we're doing on the blockchain there that we're talking about. That's our platform, Udicci's platform. We have a goal that we're working toward, and that basically we're trying to make sure that we can have some alpha users come on by Thanksgiving. Our first milestone in that, or our first step toward that, is November 1st. Monday is onboarding some alpha testers, and what we're going to ask them to do is simply establish their identity card on Udicci's cloud, and then we're going to work with them. We're going to review what they have so we can make sure that that looks correct as we understand it to be. Then we'll be writing them to the blockchain, and we'll be doing, looking for some error checking and that kind of stuff in preparation for that Thanksgiving time, where we're going to see if we can have people come all the way on and go from there. Is that right? As we understand it.
Yep.
And so again, that's November 1st. We're going to be bringing on. We're going to try to be bringing on these test users between then and Thanksgiving as kind of our test. How many do we want to try to bring on this first process?
I've been thinking about that. It'd be nice to get it, 20, 25, 100.
Oh, I don't think
we're
that's
gonna
way
get
too
100.
much. I think it's too much. I mean, we're talking about trying to make sure. I would say 10. If you said 10, then we're 10. What was your low number?
The 15 was,
Okay.
I was thinking like a dozen to 15 was like my low end, but like up end.
Well, first off, it only gives
25.
us like 2 weeks. I mean, we have to still line everybody up. It's only 2 weeks for us to get all of these people on. This isn't this is not our goal for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Right.
Well, no, or is that what you? Or do we want?
No, I think that's what we had said. Is that the alpha test users would be on before Thanksgiving, and then we would be writing transactions and opening up more capabilities for the transactions.
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess I'm saying is how many alpha test users do we want to onboard between November 1st and Thanksgiving? That's the 15 number?
Yeah, 15 to 20.
All right, 15 to 20. Okay, which means we need some alpha test users.
Right. And we will be providing a URL because I don't think we want to use the one that we're using now. We probably want this to come into the live production database. And we probably need to do some prep for that. But
that's actually a really good point, because we don't have the campaign URLs done, but we do want to track how initial, they got there.
Yep.
Which is actually fine, because that's just me sharing my Udicci link and you sharing your Udicci link. That's easy. That's easy. We don't need to do anything there.
We can still write the transaction afterwards. We're all set for that. So
No. I'm saying literally though, if they engage on my profile, it's the equivalent of having the campaign URLs. Yeah. So if they engage on your so we're good there. Yep. So no worries on that side. All right. So we basically need to get 10 to 15. No, what do we say? 15 to 20 people.
Yep.
In the next 2 to 3 weeks to simply, we'll get you the instructions.
Yep.
We're not going to tell you it's the easiest thing in the world, right? Where you if you've done anything to try to get prepared for blockchain, it's jump, hopscotch, jump rope, flip backward,
try to figure
get
out
it back on.
Yep.
And certainly, I think we've made it much easier than that. It's a pretty much step by step walk through a couple screens. Get signed on. And it'll be fill in some forms, right? Name, rank, serial number kind of stuff. What do you want people to see? And then once you have that established, we'll kind of review it with you, like, okay, did everything work, right? So, and then we're going to be looking for feedback as far as how was that onboarding experience for you. We understand it probably is not going to be the easiest thing, and for everybody, it should be. It should be almost seamless.
And there are a couple people that we need to probably be aware that may have already engaged with us at a point in time in the past who
we're going to have so we'll reach out to people who've already engaged in the past. Now what are they going to have to do?
There would be just a simple process we go through on that. I can do the same thing It's just that we pick it up instead of them engaging. We pick it up because we're the profile. We just have to make sure.
Okay, so we're going to have to just work on a little.
Yeah.
So we'll have a little two-step. If you've been on the system before, if you've already got a profile, we'll probably just be reaching out to you, asking you to maybe come back on, work through that with us. If you're new, there'll be a way to come to one of our profiles. And do we have Engage available on Udicci's, the Ulysses?
On anyone's. Yeah, we talked about that. So I was going to ask you about that off camera, but since you brought it up, we can talk about it off camera. But one thing that we do have to discuss is when we figure that there are certain people that we're going to allow you to engage through. At this point, to onboard others.
But there's a process to onboarding.
Because there's a process to helping others
so
onboard
we pretty
right
much
now.
have to...
but it's easy. You know, we just need to
turn
get
off
the videos.
engagement for everybody but you and I. Basically.
Yeah, and Ulysses.
No, not Ulysses either. Because, we want to kind of know how they got there, right?
Okay.
At least for now.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's ultimately the campaign URLs then go, okay, now it can be Ulysses too. And we don't care if it's Ulysses, but our goal, like Ulysses ultimately should have noted you and I.
True.
Right? I mean.
Yeah. And if those of you don't know the story of Ulysses, well, again,
stay tuned. Another time. Okay. So the clock looks like it's about 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it looks like we're 1 minute and 34 seconds from...
Yeah, so I had planned that we were just going to run the opener as the closer. But so we'll get that ready, and then we'll just kind of eat into Ceox or a little bit. And for those, Ceox is just a continuation of the show, but where we switch gears a little bit, and there's a sports theme to it. But we get into sort of the crypto games a little bit more. We're going to be talking much more about like Satoshis and the kind of economic games that go into that. But so question that was supposed to be answered, and we just trying to be accountable here. The theme of the night was in rhythm. I'm going to say that this didn't really feel like a very good rhythm. But what are your thoughts on tonight?
Yeah, it felt a little chunky tonight. We definitely need to work on the pace a little bit. But I think that getting the structure, the clocks, and having things a little bit more defined is definitely coming together. We're definitely starting to use some of these tools, the production tools, to our advantage, and we'll continue to develop those out to make the production even better.
Because you can tell it's really
it's
high
in
quality
rhythm.
contact. So the funny thing is, as I kind of sit there and wind this out, I'm thinking, this was a little bit rushed tonight. We'll fix the format, but in general, as we've said, the purpose is to persevere. The purpose is to be consistent and continue going, and we did that. And because of that, we are in rhythm. And we'll be back with Ceox in just a minute.
Brother, wake up.
Fellow humans, we ask, can we together deliver peace and healing to heart and mind?
Ulysses reheard the words being replayed.